Hello everybody, my name is Axe Baxter. Today we're going to be talking about how to become more accurate and precise in Overwatch and give you a few things to work on to help you become a better player. But it all starts with your setup, whether you're on console or PC. Console, it's pretty simple. What's your sensitivity? Are you under aiming? Are you over aiming? Can you not stay on a big target like Winston or Reinhardt or Roadhog? That might be an indicator to slow down your gameplay and slow down your sensitivity. PC, it's a bit more complicated. We have things called DPI, which you have to know what your DPI is, because if I say my sensitivity in-game is 4%, that doesn't mean anything because you don't know my DPI. It's 1800. So it's always important not to fall in love with these crazy high DPI mice and just simply turn your DPI down. Some of the top pros in CS and different games still play at 4 to 800 DPI. That's really all it takes. But because I play so many games at 1800, that's an easy number for me to port over when I change my sensitivities in various games. So with that said, mouse acceleration, dirty term, it actually exists by default in Windows. So for those of you who do not know, there's going to be a description down below called the Mark C Mouse Fix, and it walks you through the changes. Basically, you go into your mouse settings, you make sure it's on the 6th bar, from left to right, 6th bar over, and untick enhanced precision. Make sure that's unchecked. Believe it or not, that actually gives you acceleration, and that's bad. The next thing you need to do is figure out what your sensitivity is and what you think you want it to be. Anytime you make a big jump in sensitivity, it's going to feel absolutely horrible and alien. But if you're playing slow, can you stay on target? Is it helping you out a little bit? Maybe if you need to make a big jump, chop it up into 2 or 3 different changes. So let's say you want to take and extend your sensitivity by a couple inches. Maybe split the difference. Do an inch or an inch and a quarter one day. Wait a couple days till you start getting familiar, and do another inch and a quarter so you're absolutely not off your initial acquisition, which is a part of becoming precise and accurate. So what is my sensitivity? Well, it's 4% in game, 1800 DPI. But what I do, no matter what the game is, when I travel these gaming events, because I don't know the DPI of the mice, I basically throw down my mouse pad, which actually has marks on it. I have my hip fire sensitivity on my mouse pad. So I line the mouse cord up with it, and you pick something, whether it's this light or a robot eyeball that's pretty stationary. You get on your starting spot. If you don't want to mark up your mouse pad, just flip a post-it note, grab a legal pad, and kind of let that post-it note drape over, and you put your starting spot there, and you basically spin. Do a couple 360s. Do this 4 or 5 times. Make sure you're as accurate as possible, and that should be the sensitivity that you use for the majority of your games, because now the devs are being great. There's all these different options when it comes to sensitivity, and of course decimal places. So it's not just a slider anymore. You can change that to a decimal place, and I play a lot of Battlefield. These numbers port directly over. So this is my hip fire from Battlefield. It's roughly a touch over 7 3/4 inches and almost 20 centimeters on the nose. Now, when I go ADS or aim down sight, there's a bit of a reduction. So that's actually about 10.5 inches when it comes to measuring it and doing a complete circle. So if you think you're too high, only you know that. And again, there is no right or wrong answer here, but we're going to be talking about a couple things that you can do to improve your aim and some movement combinations, because in Overwatch there is no penalty for strafing and shooting, unlike Battlefield and definitely Counter-Strike, where you're strafing and spraying, your first bullet might go up there in Counter-Strike. Exaggerating a little bit, but it's definitely not going where it should unless you get RNGesus. And even the Battlefield series, you strafe, stop, then shoot, or burst, or your tap fire, and then strafe out of danger. So the first thing we want to talk about is initial acquisition. And it has to do with, are you even close to being on target before you introduce an initial movement, right? That one's way off, right? And this is the things I work on to get warmed up, okay? Just these initial acquisitions, okay? So, but then you combine it, because there is a lot of drag shooting in Overwatch, right? You don't have to wait for this to be on their head to click. You can flick it over, right? And that's one of the things that I do a lot of, is these strafe shots and these flick shots. So a good thing to do when you're starting off, just getting used to a sensitivity, because if you are McCree and you miss, you're probably dead. Just work on quick flicks, right? Nothing fancy. Just go back and forth as many times as possible. And this is a pretty decent change of angle here, right? And then different combinations. So that one I missed a headshot there, right? So maybe work from far right to far left. Maybe go middle, right, left. But don't do left to right every time. You're training yourself one way. You want to train yourself all the ways, right? So that's the right to left. Missed a headshot there again. And then mix it up. Middle, right, left. Left, far right, middle. And just do that back and forth. So here we'll do initial acquisition, right. That one's bad, even though I caught the headshot in the end, right? And as what? Once you start getting used to your initial acquisition, you can start mixing in movement combinations because Overwatch is a high movement game. And a tip that transcends any sort of shooter is crosshair level. If you're pillaring or if you're playing the game, make sure you're roughly at head level because the less you have to move, either as a person or your crosshair, the odds are the more precise you're going to be. So the next thing we want to work on is a strafe shot, okay, where we're actually strafing in. And I'm not really moving my crosshair much. I'm doing micro movements depending on if I'm off or not, okay? So you could do it right, okay? So we're getting head level. We can make little adjustments. But really what we're doing on this specific shot, so we're strafing left. I'm actually pulling the trigger as I hit back strafe, right? So we'll start off left, okay? We'll start off left because little Timmy died. And as soon as I strafe right, I pull the trigger, so watch. Right? So it's that split second where I'm actually stationary. And I'll do it just to the blank wall here so you guys can see. So this is a great thing to actually work on. Movement combinations, okay? And then, if you want, you can mix in your flicks, okay? Where you're flicking, okay? So you want to work right to left. You want to work left to right. You don't want to be a one-way player, right? So work on all of your flicks. The bigger the angle, the harder the flick, okay? So if you start working on big flicks like this, there's going to be a lot more misses, but that's your tracer kills. That's your Genji kills, okay? You catch them out, their deflect is down, their rewind is down, and they catch one in the mouth. The next thing you want to work on is using cover, not only to cover your reloads or your heals or just buy you a couple seconds when you're dancing around, but is actual pillaring. And it's very simple, right? Don't be predictable. Obviously, McCree has a certain rate of fire, but maybe you don't bop out every time. Maybe it's a one count, hold, then another, okay? Or you change your look. The last thing you want to do is give somebody the same look, especially a Roadhog or a Widowmaker or another McCree that's just going to dome you across the map. So the last thing we want to work on is high movement combinations. The closer the player is, the more active the player is, the harder it is to land consecutive shots. Because again, there is a ton of fast movement in Overwatch. So it's all about jumping around, bebopping, getting your flicks in on moving targets. Anything you can do. Okay, there is a way to set up bots. I don't preferably like that. I usually start in the shooting range because you could simulate basically any sort of scenario minus people shooting at you. And that's okay because you've got to start someplace. So when I come back from a trip from a couple days, or I was playing on a different setup, or I wasn't using my mouse or mouse pad and I didn't have my exact sensitivity, I'll do this for a half hour or so till it doesn't become alien. And it's all about that initial acquisition. So if you have a good initial acquisition, that's less distance you have to travel with your crosshair. And that's a good thing because that allows you to kill people more quickly, and that's the name of the day, name of the game. If you can kill them before they can kill your teammates, and you can put pressure on them, that's going to give your team the advantage. So as you become more accurate, more precise, unlike that helps everybody. So if you guys enjoyed this quick little overview of some of the things that I do, some of the drills that I run to help improve my aim and precision and keep me sharp. If you guys have any questions or comments, don't forget to leave them down below. If you have any thoughts, make sure to include those or any specific questions for heroes or gameplay styles. As always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys soon.